Welcome back to another in our series of questions that Jesus asked. Our question today comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 18. Was no one found to return and give praise to God except for this foreigner? To give our question its context, we'll be reading verses 11 through 19 of Luke 17. On the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. When he saw them, he said to them, Go and show yourselves to the priests. And as they went, they were cleansed. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. And he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered, Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, Rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. Would you please allow me to complain for a moment? Now think about that. Why on earth would you say yes? Why would you want to let more negativity into your life than you already may have? Surely there's enough negative thinking in the world already. What if I had started out by telling you I'm going to shower you with positive words? What would that look like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like? Let's think about these for a moment. Will these positive words describe things, places, situations, attitudes, consequences, feelings? Maybe all of the above, maybe some, maybe none. Whatever the words are that come forth about whatever is described in whatever circumstance, there is, in all likelihood, the very distinct chance that thankfulness will be expressed. A sense of gratitude will appear shining brightly. At the heart of gratitude is a view outside of self and to the world around us. A look at words that are related to gratitude include acknowledgement, recognition, thanks, appreciativeness, grace, gratefulness, indebtedness, praise, thanksgiving, thankfulness. Now, the opposite of gratitude is carelessness, inconsideration, callousness, heedlessness, negligence, rudeness, thanklessness, thoughtlessness. The opposite of gratitude is that of looking into self and caring about ourselves, often to the exclusion of others. Are there tangible benefits from living a life of gratefulness? Or is it just semantics? Can one point to a thankful life and say there is actually profit in practicing such a thing? There are anecdotal signs. People seem happier. People seem to be at peace. People seem less combative. But these and other observations are somewhat subjective. However, in a 2019 article in the National Institute of Health, they reported how it was studied the lives of thankful people and objectively noted that they have higher levels of activity in the hypothalamus that affects essential body functions like eating, drinking, and sleeping. These feelings released dopamine, that feel-good chemical. An attitude of gratitude is shown to improve physical and mental health, self-esteem, quality of sleep. It reduces negative emotions and more. Our question today, really 3 questions asked in rapid succession by Jesus, addresses the subject of thankfulness and gratitude. In Luke 17, verses 17 and 18, Jesus answered, Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? 10 lepers, 9 of whom are Jews, and 1 a Samaritan. All 10 bound by the physical malady of leprosy. All 10 doomed to live out their lives in solitary confinement away from society. Notice in verse 12 that they stood at a distance and cried out. The law required such a thing. In Leviticus 13, verses 45 and 46, the leprous person who has the disease shall wear torn clothes, and let the hair of his head hang loose, and he shall cover his upper lip and cry out, Unclean, unclean. He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. These 10 were bound by their isolation. Their only hope, the mercy of this Jesus as he passes by in the distance. With all they can muster, they call out. Scholars tell us that one of the symptoms of this ancient disease is the inability to speak loudly with the voice. One chance was perhaps all they had, and the great physician answered their call. In James Kaufman's commentary, he notes the various ways in which Jesus healed people. The marvelous diversity of methods in Jesus' miracles is a mark of their divine originality. Some were healed in one circumstance, some in others. Most were healed instantaneously. 1 or 2 were healed in stages. Some were touched by Jesus, others were not. Some were commanded to tell it, others forbidden to tell it. Some upon the basis of their own faith, others upon the faith of friends. Some were healed in his presence, others in absentia. And true to such diversity, there is a unique angle here in that they were commanded to go show themselves to the priest, a necessary requirement of the law before they could be pronounced cured and re-enter society. And they were healed en route. No forger could have imagined a circumstance like this. End of quote. Yes, before they could be accepted back into society, they must show themselves to the priest to be declared clean. The same as had been required in another encounter with a leper in Matthew chapter 8, verses 3 and 4. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will be clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, See that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a proof to them. In a remarkable display of gratitude, one of the lepers turns back, and with his body healed, and with full use once again of his voice, raises it to give thanks and praise. Jesus notes that he was a Samaritan, and further, a foreigner. How is it that this branch of David, kindred of Judah, was most surprised by those outside his family? After all, wasn't it a Gentile that Jesus marveled at when he declared in Matthew chapter 8, verses 10 through 12? When Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who followed him, Truly, I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith. I tell you, many will come from east and west and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown out into outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And what of the Gentile Canaanite woman's faith when she begged him to cast the demon from her daughter? In Matthew 15, verses 24 through 28. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered, It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. She said, Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then Jesus answered her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. And now a Samaritan leper raises his voice in thankfulness, while Jesus' own tribe gives not a thought of thankfulness enough to at least express such thoughts for their healing. Paul tells Timothy of certain traits that will mark these last days in his second letter. Among those traits, he says, will be that of being ungrateful. In 2 Timothy 3:2. He tells Timothy, avoid such people. Do you know what I am thankful for the most? Well, here's hoping that list is too long to even begin here. Have you spent time enough giving thanks to God? Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at another question that Jesus asked.